Hello, and welcome to RightScale's Cloud Computing Basics screencast. My name is Michael Crandell. I'm CEO of RightScale, and we're looking forward to taking you on a quick tour through what cloud computing is for those of you who are just being introduced or maybe want a quick review. First, a word about RightScale. RightScale has been in this business for several years. Today we have more than 20,000 users, many hundreds of customers. Most importantly, we've launched over 750,000 servers running in the cloud and managed some of the largest scaling events, including a single company adding more than 3,000 servers to their production system in 3 days. Another company going from 0 to 35 million unique visitors to their website. And so we've just had a lot of experience running some of the largest production deployments that have been leveraged in the cloud to date. And that's the voice that we come to you with today. So first, quick refresher, what is cloud computing? From our perch at RightScale, cloud computing got started really around the notion of scalable, on-demand, pay-per-use compute resources, compute and storage, coming from a virtually infinite pool and available over the internet. And that's where the phrase in the cloud or from the cloud comes from. The notion is that these compute and storage resources exist somewhere else over across the internet. You don't know where, and you don't really care. What's important to you as a customer is the revolutionary benefits that are provided from cloud computing. And those boil down to some simple things. First, business agility. So the ability to get resources on demand and pay as you go really enable the ability to launch new IT-based projects for your company in a very short time frame, in fact in an unprecedentedly short time frame, at a much lower cost because again you're only paying for what you use. You pay for the servers you launch while you use them. You can run them for an hour or a day or a week or a year and then only pay for what you use, as well as the kind of new level of reliability that's enabled by very large data centers run by companies that operate at scale and come with the kind of resiliency built into extremely large data centers that are distributed across multiple locations. So in a nutshell, that's what cloud computing is. There really are three different cloud models that have evolved over time. One is the notion of software in the cloud, and that's where you use an application that might be something like a CRM application or human resources management. It's delivered through a web browser. So you don't own any servers or have any packaged installed software. You just log in through a web browser and someone else worries about all that. All the way across to platform as a service. And then on the other end is what we call infrastructure as a service. It's really the newest edition. It's where at a low level the very basic compute and storage resources like servers, IP addresses, storage volumes, etc. are exposed for usage. And that's where RightScale lives. We are a management platform that lives on top of infrastructure as a service clouds, and we can operate with multiple different clouds. I'll say more about that in a moment. But what you're getting from all of these cloud offerings is really a combination of automation as well as increased portability as you move to the infrastructure layer and more transparency and control in deploying the kinds of applications, be they simple or complex, that you need to as a company. Really what is driving the interest in all this is that cloud computing solves the classic IT or information technology problem of trying to match allocation of compute resources to variable demand. So in this graph, we see the variable demand going up and down as the curvy red line, and that might be internal users or external website visitors. But it's quite common that, that loads on your applications vary over time. And then the blue line is the attempt in a given company or operation, organization to build out that resource to match the demand. So you can see in the beginning that the company's done a very good job of building out the resource, making a decision to increase it so that it doesn't fall short. However, at times it's quite a bit overbuilt, and so you end up with an opportunity cost where you've invested in infrastructure that you don't need at that time. And then as you get farther over to the right, you see the other scenario, which is what we call the success disaster scenario, where you've done so well at increasing usage, again, whether it's external website visitors or your internal corporate consumers, that the need has outstripped what the infrastructure can provide. And so you get applications and websites that are either slow or they crash entirely. And you lose customers, you lose the allegiance of those that you run your business in order to support. The solution is really provided by cloud computing, and more specifically managed cloud computing. And here you have a much more idealized graph where through automated scaling and other types of automation, the resources being used for your production systems scale up and down and come and go to match very closely what the actual demand curve is. And so this is an ideal situation, and it's really what has driven interest in cloud computing and why it's so popular. And in fact, this is a graph that we've published very recently on our blog at RightScale, blog.rightscale.com, that delineates what's been happening in terms of usage in low-level cloud servers launched over the past couple years. And you can see it's a typically increasing curve that we see in disruptive technology businesses that are changing the landscape. So with all of that as preface, just like to give a little update of where we stand today. That was how cloud computing got started a couple years ago. And as we sit here today, there's been some maturation. Cloud is still regarded as extremely important, but across different aspects. So there's cloud computing as a business model. And what appeals to people there is really that it's pay as you go. And by the way, the rates for paying for cloud computing are quite compelling in terms of being low cost. But you pay as you go and typically leverage outsourced resources, meaning someone else is running and maintaining the data centers and so on. But cloud has also come to mean the technology that's provided under that business model, specifically the notion of getting cloud servers on demand and storage resources on demand through a programmable mechanism. And in technology terms, that's an API or application programming interface driven kind of resource, meaning that one piece of software can actually call another piece of software to launch servers, to allocate storage. It does not need to be driven by a human being faxing in an order or phoning in an order and talking to a salesperson. So with these two aspects of cloud computing having been updated, we really arrive today at the notion of cloud computing as a matrix, if you will, where you have both public and private clouds and internal, external clouds. So what started as an external public cloud movement through hosting providers has now morphed into something where people are also creating and launching internal clouds. The benefits remain largely the same. It's around agility, business agility, and cost savings. But cloud has become more complicated now. And as a result, really the whole movement has evolved to where it's influencing all of information technology delivery. That's one reason why it's become even more revolutionary than it was at the beginning. It's a metaphor for a whole new way that IT is being delivered and consumed. And what's driving the interest in cloud management platforms, which is what RightScale is at the end of the day, we've surveyed many users to find out, and they're really interested in 5 key things. One is that as compelling as these cloud resources are, they require management because they're fairly complex to leverage. So they're powerful but complex, and there are many of them. So management of complexity has become a key benefit. Second one is around automation. Automation so that systems respond to events very quickly, like additional loads from more website visitors, for example, but also automation so that less human intervention is required. and you can essentially manage more computer server resources with fewer system administration personnel. Also, folks are looking for a fast on-ramp to the cloud. We've all heard about cloud computing. We've heard about the benefits. For many companies, they just want to begin to consume it and get the benefits and want a partner to help them get there quickly as a fast on-ramp, if you will, and to do it in a way where there's expertise offered, and that's where the deployment expertise becomes important. They want a partner who understands best practices for deploying in the cloud. Finally, portability has become an increasingly important concern. The notion that if I'm using cloud provider A, might there come a time when I also want to use another cloud provider B or C, or may need to switch for one reason or another. And so there's a widespread fear of being locked in to a single cloud provider, and there's interest in the ability to move easily between cloud infrastructure providers. So with all of those benefits, RightScale has really seen a whole broad range of customer applications being deployed on our platform. And we've really found that cloud computing, when it's managed, is applicable from Web 2.0 companies all the way up to enterprises. So very broad applicability. Typical use cases, so scalable websites is one. Companies running big batch processing. So processes or tasks that run the same, say, slave task over and over again in collections, sometimes called grid computing, is another application. Test and development, very common applications. So allowing your R&D and quality assurance department to spin up clusters of resources in order to test and load test or quality test, as well as to try out new development approaches, has been very handy. Disaster recovery is a popular application. The notion that you could put up multiple versions of an application in different locations on different cloud sites. In case one should have reliability problems, you can always switch to the other. All the way through to application delivery, where cloud is being used to deliver end applications for users. One example we did recently was around business intelligence software. So really this is the kind of span in RightScale terms of customers. Our equivalent of A to Z is AstraZeneca, which is, as an example, a biopharma company, all the way to Zynga, which is a company very popular Facebook games like Farmville. So these are all the areas that RightScale can help companies begin to leverage the cloud. And really, it's more than just automation. RightScale operates and provides benefit across all of these areas, from architecting using pre-existing cloud-ready solutions to configuration, management, control, rolling up all your best practices and codifying them in a single place, through to retaining freedom of choice of which cloud provider you use and retaining portability. So really, there's a lot to explore there, and if you are interested in learning more about getting started in the cloud, we have a couple of avenues for you. First of all, please take a look at our free RightScale Developer Edition. It's a permanently free edition of our software. You can get to it at rightscale.com/developer. So you're welcome to sign up for that and actually dive in. Or if you'd like to just do some more background learning, please visit our rightscale.com/learn website, which has a wealth of information ranging from an archive of webinars we've done about a whole bunch of subjects related to cloud computing, to a demo, to screenshot gallery of what RightScale looks like in various parts, to our support portal, which has a wealth of knowledge base information as well as user forums. And then, of course, if you have any follow-on questions or would like to talk to us in person, feel free to contact us at any of the different addresses, email, telephone, Twitter, etc., listed on this slide. So with that, thanks very much for this first installment, and we'll be back with more and let you know before long.